does that matter to you? Can the top rotation guy just be a 5 1/3, 5 2/3, 6 here and there, never touch 7 innings? Do you consider that? Can he be that top of the rotation guy? In my definition, no.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Rays podcast. My name is Ulises Sambrano, and Kevin Weiss will be showing up to get the bulk innings of this episode. And we are the hosts of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day, your number one on the dial on the podcast, on every podcast audio platform. And of course, follow us on YouTube. It'd be really, really cool if you did. We're getting a community going there. We're about 1,700 subscribers so far, which is pretty nice. So keep that going. Hit that subscribe button and that like button if you're on YouTube. That'd be kind of cool. And help us beat the algorithm, the ever powerful algorithm. So I think let's get started. This weekend series, successful. The Rays win again, another series. That's 4 series in a row, which the Rays have had some trouble most of the season getting those W's, but it worked out. It worked out. On Friday, we were talking about the pitching matchups and how Sunday we thought was going to be a W, and it was going to be decided on the Saturday game. Thankfully, the Rays came out with a W on Friday, which was very much needed. But before we get into it, today's episode of the Locked On Rays podcast is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Did you know that it's never too late to resolve your tax issues with the IRS? Don't wait. Reduce your tax debt and get help from a team of licensed tax professionals. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. You know, somebody that doesn't need to do too much to reduce issues is Taj Bradley. My goodness, what a performance. June 30th, last night, Sunday, he went 5 2/3, only allowing 3 hits, 2 walks, and 11 punchies. Just looking really, really solid. This progression that we have seen from Taj this year has been really fun to watch. The last 3 games have been really solid too. Against Seattle, he went 5 1/3, only allowing a couple hits, 8 punchies. Against Minnesota, not a lot of strikeouts, but he did provide 6 innings with 7 hits and only 2 runs allowed. You know, when you look at the progression from 2023 to 2024, I did like some things. Some things are still kind of head scratching. On a positive note, the opponent average has decreased dramatically. People were hitting him 255 last year. This year, 207. That's a fantastic turnaround. The whip has gone from 139, which is pretty thick, pretty heavy there, to 1.12. Very good decrease there. The strikeout rate has gone up from 28% to 29.6%. We know he can strike people out. The chase rate, he was in the 28th percentile. This year, he's in the 61st percentile. Whiff percentage in the 41st percentile last year. This year in the 72nd percentile. His extension has improved. All of those things are really, really good. There are some blues in his Savant page. There are a little bit of wrinkles still in his game. For example, the barrel percentage has actually decreased. He was in the 11th percentile. Now he's in the 1st percentile. The hard hit percentage has increased a little bit, has gotten better, has improved. From the 5th percentile, now he's in the 14th percentile, but you don't want to be in the 14th percentile of that. So in the walk percentage, that was the last one I wanted to talk about. The walk percentage has gotten worse. It was at a 47th percentile in 2023. Now he's in the 40th percentile. So what happens when you look at the entire picture of all these stats that I've just spewed at you in the last 2 minutes. Overall, he's getting better. He is a more mature pitcher. He is getting better results, and you can see the improvement year after year, which is great. However, he's still a young pitcher. So you're not going to see all of this, the quote unquote negatives in his game to just disappear completely or not go without a hitch. The fact that he's getting barreled a little bit more, okay, that's not so great. But the hard hit percentage, even though it's improving, which is good, it's still not what you want it. But really, guys, when you look at the whole picture, I think he's getting better. And we have to focus on that. And he is improving quickly, like year after year. It makes me wonder, can he take the ace moniker from Eflin if Zach Eflin is traded? Could he take the ace moniker from Shane McClanahan in 2025 when he returns from TJ? I'm just saying, I really am enjoying what Taj Bradley has been doing in 2024. He looks like he knows what he wants to do out there. He looks like he is a much more confident pitcher. The stats are there. He knows how to control the strike zone a little bit more. I feel like there is a chance where you see a 1-2 punch of Taj Bradley and Shane McClanahan, and I wouldn't be surprised if Taj is ahead of Shane McClanahan, at least in 2025 when Shane is coming back. And he's not going to be, providing endless amounts of innings. Like, they're going to take care of Shane McClanahan's arm, obviously. So just by that, I do think that you would be leaning more on Taj to be the guy. Quote unquote ace. I know we've had this discussion many times before, whether, how many aces can there be in baseball? I mean, I've always said, just think about it as a deck of cards. So there are only 4 in a deck of cards. So you can't say there's like 30 aces. Then you're diluting the word ace. But maybe the number 1 starter, maybe we can say that in the Rays rotation. And I think he can definitely do that. He's got stiff competition in 2025. Like, let's take Eflin out and pretend that he's getting traded. You got McClanahan, you got Boz, you got Taj, you got Pepio, you got Littell. Civale is, could he be traded? We don't know. There's just, Drew Rasmussen, Jeffrey Springs. Like, the 2025 rotation is sick. It's going to be really, really fun to watch. And I think Taj Bradley has a good edge in becoming the guy out of all of those. He's young. He hasn't shown any big injury. I know he had the pec strain earlier this year, but as long as it's not arm, shoulder, elbow, oblique, I think we would rather we are okay with that. Anything in that sort of shoulder, elbow area, you start to get scared. But I think he has a really good shot at becoming the guy that when your team needs a W, you can give him the ball. Now, something I would like to see a little bit more, and I know this might sound like old men yelling in the clouds a little bit. It's just the length. Can you be a top of the rotation guy and not go 6 innings? Blake Snell won a Cy Young by doing exactly that. He won 2, in fact. I do want the top of the rotation arm to go 7 a few times in a year. I don't know how you guys feel. Maybe drop it down in the comments. Does that matter to you? Can the top rotation guy just be a 5 1/3, 5 2/3, 6 here and there, never touch 7 innings? Do you consider that? Can he be that top of the rotation guy? In my definition, No. I want my stopper, the guy, to be able to go 7 innings a handful of times a year. I know baseball has changed, but I don't think we're asking for much to throw 7 innings from a starter. I don't think that's asking for the moon. Okay, to be doing that. If you're posting 30 times, what's the whole saying? If you have 30 starts this season, you're gonna have, 5 incredible, 5 awful, and then the rest in between. All right, well, those 5 really quality ones, can you make it 7 innings? Can you make those 7 innings? Um, I think I would be happy with that. But that's not all that happened during the weekend. There was a lot of firepower from the offense, which was very, very nice to see. And guess what? Kevin Weiss has more to say about this team winning 4 series in a row. They finished June 14-11, almost close to those 15 wins. So close, so close. This is their best month in 2024. So let's see what Kevin Weiss has to say about the rest of this weekend. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Price Picks community today. Price Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And with the finals already over, the hoops action does not stop on Price Picks. The WNBA is still heating up with stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and all that Twitter feud. Well, you can follow along and have some fun using Price Picks. In fact, Price Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country. So today, get in on the fun and download the Price Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's Benjamin Franklin, baby. That's code locked on MLB, LOCKEDON MLB on Price Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Here on Locked On Rays, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs. It's year-round. And you know what else is year-round? Collection season. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. $1 billion, people. That's basically a stadium for the Rays to play in 2028. So whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season, and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/locked on. And be sure to mention Locked On Rays at checkout, and you'll receive $250 in discounts off their services. Again, that's Tax Network USA.
All right. Thank you, Ulises, for taking the first portion of Monday's episode here. We're doing a opener bulk day, I guess. Something that's been a little bit more common as of late as we try to figure out and adjust our schedules here. Want to let you know something important, and that is this. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Well, make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming and shouting. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. All right. Congratulations to the Rays for taking 2 of 3 from the Washington Nationals at home. Pretty much what we expected and anticipated there. It was a situation where, based on the matchups, the Nationals had a couple good starters rolling out for them, and knowing that really the tough game to salvage would be the one where Aaron Savali was on the mound. And of course, that was the case. But other than that, pretty pleased with the effort that the Rays put forth, except for that 8-1 disaster that we could probably add it to the clunker category, but that's going to happen over the course of 162. Now, the key is the Rays have been playing a little bit better lately. They've got to try to keep it up as they're crawling back to 500, above 500, teetering back and forth a little bit. They do have a really tough schedule for the next couple weeks, starting with the Royals, Rangers, Yankees, and Guardians, taking them up into the All-Star break. And as the pleasure continues, getting out of the All-Star break, they'll have a 4-game set against the New York Yankees to open the second half of the season. So pretty big watershed moment to see where the Rays will be at and around and following the All-Star break and making some determinations as to where they're going to go. Before I spotlight one Yandy Diaz, who made some franchise history the other day, do just want to congratulate the Rays for starting to hit home runs a little bit more. Maybe not quite the pace that we've seen the last couple of seasons, certainly not last year, where they were 6th in all of baseball in dingers, had well over 200. Right now, they're tied for 25th with the Tigers. As a team, they have just 76. So they have a lot of work to do going up the rest of the season. But it was nice to see a total of, if I have it correct, 6 home runs over the course of a 3-game series. So that's about the best you can bargain for if you're the Rays at this juncture. Of course, on Friday, Jose Siri had 2 home runs on a fastball and a splitter, both over 400 feet. His first one was 405 feet. Second one, 428 feet to the deepest part of the ballpark, no doubt. Or Saturday happened to be the lone run that the Rays put across. Brandon Lau homering 405 feet on a 95 fastball that was elevated. Then on Sunday, we had a triumvirate. Isaac Paredes pulling a home run for 415 feet. Jose Caballero getting the rare homer for him. And then Randy Arozarena slider down that he launches for 422 feet. So I say that to say this, there weren't many cheapies to go around for the Rays over the last couple of days. Outside of Caballero, all those homers were 400 feet, at least 400 feet and greater. And we're starting to see the power numbers bump up a little bit more, which is going to have to continue if the Rays are going to compete and win games and put runs on the board in chunks. It's really hard to manufacture runs these days. So get them on, get them in. That's the idea. Paredes now has 13, Randy 11, Siri 11, and then Brandon Lau in his just 37 games played, he has 6. So I think some of it, or a lot of it, has to do with a byproduct of guys getting healthier. The core, the established players are back in the lineup together again, and guys like Yandy Diaz and others are heating up. So we really want and need this to continue going forward. It just gives a boost to your pitching staff and is a damper on the opposition when you hit a long shot and you have a highlight-worthy, not just home run, but bat flip if you're Jose Siri. I feel like that's something that he practices in the mirror or the shower, how he's going to stand, stare, drop, flip the bat when he knows that he got a hold of one, which is amazing to me because Siri is not a big guy. Usually you don't see a lot of big power numbers from center fielders, and it's not like he really takes a full, complete swing. It's almost like once he makes contact with the ball, he kind of stops and doesn't really quite follow through. So the fact that he's able to generate power like that is pretty remarkable, if I will say. So let's hope that keeps up going forward. Let's also hope that the hot streak of Yandy Diaz continues as well. He is now in franchise lore. He set a franchise record for consecutive games for getting a base hit with 20, breaking the record that was set by won Jason Bartlett in 2009. And funnily enough, the Rays were the only major league franchise that had not seen a player record a hitting streak of at least 20 games. So he has really turned on the corner the last month plus or so. Obviously, he started the year really struggling. If you look at the overall numbers, by May 1st, he was just hitting 211 with a 556 OPS. Now, I will say, for his credit, it's not like, oh my gosh, Yandy's career is over. He's swinging and missing. He's not drawing walks. He's chasing at everything. That really wasn't the case. He was actually hitting the ball really hard. And he had, I think we can all agree, some or a lot of bad luck involved, as he had 79 hard hit outs according to StatCast. He was tied with Vladimir Guerrero for the most in the majors at that point. And I think some of it too has to do with the launch angle, the sweet spot, and that thereof. That's been a problem and a bugaboo for Yandy ever since he was with the then Indians organization. Well, we have this muscled up guy, has a ton of strength, has great plate discipline and bat to ball skills, but we just need to have him elevate it a little bit more. And I think that continues to be a theme for him. But he is slowly but surely. Mark Topkin actually put out an article over the weekend or later on last week. He is making a case for himself of being one of the greats in a Rays uniform. He's been in a Rays uniform for many, many years, more years than a lot of other players can say for themselves. And through 600 plus games, over 600 plus games through his career, Yandy ranks on the franchise top 10 list for the following counting stats. Hits, he's 7th. RBIs, he's 10th. Runs, he's 8th. Singles, he's 7th. Doubles, he's 7th. Walks, he's 6th. Total bases, he's 9th. Times on base, he's 8th. And his current 376 on base percentage as a Ray ranks second to Fred McGriff's 380, while his 816 OPS is 5th. But his OPS plus, which is adjusted for league and ballpark, is a franchise best 130. So I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that he needs to be compared to Longoria or Crawford or Zobrist or Kiermaier or Price or Shields, or even go on down the list and say Pena or Kazmir. But after that, I think you could make the case that he's knocking on the door of being a really memorable player for this organization. And who knows what happens? Let's remember that he is and could technically be with the Rays through 2026, his age 34 season, where there's a club option. So this year, he's getting paid $8 million. Next year, at age 33, he'll get $10 million. And then 2026 is the club option. And if he continues to perform like he's performing and doesn't show much of a downslide, I'm getting the inkling that he could be in a Rays uniform until his mid-30s. Guys like him, with his plate discipline, his adjustable swing mechanics, his opposite field hitting, his study of pitchers, and his overall physical condition, don't grow on trees. The big key for him is if and how he can stay healthy. And I think that the Rays have figured out a way to engineer that with designated off days, being a designated hitter some days, playing first base. I think that was the best thing for his career and longevity, was the Rays saying, you know what, we really don't need you to play third base anymore. Let's shift you over to first. And he is the type of guy that, whether it's with the Rays or another organization, I really do see him more or less being able to hit and be a positive contributor throughout his entire career. And I know these are lofty comparisons, and in no way, shape, or form am I comparing Yandy to these guys. But when you're talking about dudes who just have a knack and a skill at the box for drawing a walk or getting a hit, power or no power, you see that that is something that can continue with them through late in their career. For example, Tony Gwynn, he did pretty well late in his career. Wade Boggs, he did pretty well late in his career. Kirby Puckett, Todd Helton, Vlad Guerrero, Nomar Garciaparra, Michael Brantley, even. So I think that Yandy, if I would to put green Skittles on it, I would say that whatever his last year is in a big league uniform, whether it's at age 36, age 37, age 38, I'll bank on him to hit, 270, 275, 280, just by his pure bat to ball skill set. And I think that is valuable for any team that he plays with. And what's really amazing to me, what he's done in his turnaround this season, or getting balls that he's put in play to drop for base hits. If you look at his spray chart, it pretty much reads like a guy who is, one of the most complete hitters in all of baseball. And it's funny to say this because he's not a big power guy, but he has a home run to essentially every quadrant in every corner of the field. He has home runs to center field, deepest part of the ballpark, left center. He has home runs pulled way down the line, Isaac Paredes style. He has a home run pulled or pushed Oppo way down the other line. He has a home run to right center, not to mention all the base hits and doubles that he has all scattered around the field. And as we saw a week ago, he's not afraid to leg out a swinging bunt, which is something to be appreciative of him. But of course, look, I see him as a guy who is going to age well, in the sense, assuming he's able to stay healthy, of that hit tool, that eye tool is always going to carry him. And it is something that the Rays are going to have to think about in terms of salary considerations and weigh the pros and cons. But the way I see it is he is a pretty rare breed of hitter, as we've seen over the years here. So just wanted to note and mention that. And I listed names like Puckett and Vladdy and Helton and Nomar and so on and so forth. But maybe even another comparison is Edgar Martinez, primarily a designated hitter who played until he was 41 years old. He retired with a career batting average of 312. Derek Jeter was another guy who was still contributing up to the age of 40 plus. So I just want to take a moment to appreciate all the accomplishments and achievements that Yandy has put forth, not to mention that we look back at trades and say, did the Rays win or lose that trade? And I think we can be pretty vociferous and say that the Rays absolutely did amazeballs in the acquisition of Yandy Diaz, because all they had to do, and I know $5 million is a hefty amount, but all they had to do was give up $5 million in Jake Bauers to acquire Yandy. And what has Jake Bauers done in his career, in his major league career? Not very much. He is on his 5th MLB team, and across 5 seasons and 473 games, he has a negative 1.4 WAR. No bueno. No bueno by any means. And maybe there is something to this as well. Since Yandy was acquired and been in a Rays uniform, the Rays have made the playoffs. So just want to throw that out. I think we all should appreciate his contributions. Is he on a Mount Rushmore of Rays greats? No, not quite there yet. Probably never will be there. because there are so many other guys who have, the pedigree and longevity and putting up the Fangraphs war and the Baseball Reference war. But I mean, if he truly stays with the Rays for the next 2, 3, 4 years, if he spends a decade, I'll just say this: if he spends a decade in a Rays uniform, the Rays really have to put some consideration into how they're going to honor that, whether that is putting him in the Rays Hall of Fame or retiring his number. So I'll just leave it at that. This was basically an homage to Yandy Diaz, and my soapbox is over. So there we go. Hope you all enjoyed this split episode. Ulises and myself will try to be back in the saddle together later on this week. In the meantime, hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.